and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And I'm Callie, also known as Calsters.
And today is Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. This is episode 304. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode. And if you're new, hopefully you enjoy today's show and you'll come back in the future. So, it's a little later in the week, but we are fitting this recording in again because my schedule is crazy, Callie's schedule is crazy, and it is Tuesday morning, and lo and behold, here we are. So we have lots to talk about and to show, some yarny goodness, lots of projects, future projects. So let's just roll right into it. Let's get into what's been going on in our lives in the past 2 weeks. I have been in multiple states, in my little globe-trotting self. 2 weeks ago, we were in Hartford, Connecticut for Stitches United, and thank you so much to every one of you that came up and said you watched the podcast and, said hi, gave me a hug. I got several stitch markers from people. Thank you so much. It's always... I love when people say hi, but it always blows me away now that we're traveling farther and farther away. I know the internet goes all over the world, right? But we've done so many things in the Midwest. It's like you start to recognize some faces and see people. But then when we're traveling farther out, it's like, wow, people watch me out here and here? That's awesome. So, we have a lot of really dedicated viewers as well. There were several people who are like, I've been watching you since episode 3 or 6. And I'm like, bless you, because I don't know if I could. But, and even if you're just now finding the podcast, thank you for checking us out. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Stitches United was a lot of fun. It was a smaller Stitches event, but still a really good event. It will be actually in Atlanta, Georgia next May. They are going to be flip-flopping between Connecticut and Georgia every other year. And we've already signed up for that. So we'll be at Stitches United in Atlanta next May. And so we were worried that there was going to be this torrential snowstorm in Connecticut. And so we left Tuesday morning at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and we stopped in northern Indiana to have lunch with Andy's mom for like a half hour. And everything we were reading said that Hartford's going to get 8 to 10 inches of snow on Wednesday. So we had planned to drive about 12 hours on Tuesday and another 4 to 5 hours on Wednesday morning and set up on Wednesday. Well, we were worried about this 8 to 10 inches of snow. And, the highways out there were eventually saying, issues and closing down to certain vehicles. And so we pushed through and we drove 17 hours on Tuesday. We rolled into Connecticut at 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning, their time. And slept in till about 9, and no snow happened. None. So we set up on Wednesday. That was painless, and then we got to chill and relax all of Thursday morning as well till the market preview. We went in a little early and finished setting up, so there was no snow at all, and then we drove home. We did about 3 hours on Sunday night and drove the rest on Monday, and then we were back to work for a couple of days. And then last weekend we were in Noblesville, Indiana at the Black Sheep Yarn and Fiber Company's shop, and we did a trunk show out there on Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. We love the ladies out there. Karen and Marina, her daughter, run the shop, and they do a very nice job. It's in a beautiful Victorian home, and they have a beautiful downstairs classroom, open knitting area, which we transform into our trunk show area. And she has some loyal, wonderful customers who come out, and we're hoping we'll be back there in the fall again for another trunk show. So we're thinking every 6 months or so would be a good run for us there. So that was a lot of fun. And then we drove home on Saturday night, and Sunday was Easter, and we were like, oh, we're going to take it easy. And then we did so well at the trunk show that we needed to dye for YarnCon this weekend. And so we needed to hit the dye pots pretty hard on Sunday. So we worked on Easter. We even had my sister, who is, I've said she's been helping out. She is now officially hired by us. It's crazy, almost pretty much full time. She came in and worked for us on Easter morning, and then we went over to my mom's for dinner and had a low-key dinner and played some Uno, and it was a good time had by all. And I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, super fun. We're recording today, going to knitting tonight, that'll be fun. And then YarnCon this weekend, which we're super excited about. So that's been my 2 weeks. Nothing really else too exciting. Just, you know, all over the place with yarn. So.
My life has been extremely busy. Lots of things going on. Work-wise, which is my life. So, not really anything that I can really talk about. So, there's that. But things are going okay. No worries. So yeah, just been really busy. We have a huge meal packaging event this Saturday, so I will not be at YarnCon on Saturday, but hopefully, if I am not wiped out and exhausted, I will be there on Sunday. So please don't make travel arrangements around my schedule, because it's a possibility that I may not be there. So, not that I don't want to see y'all, but it's unpredictable. But I actually spent Easter with one of my besties this year, and her family. I've actually spent Easter with them probably for the last 5 or 6 years. And so when I got there, it was at her cousin Amy's house, and her daughter and niece were having a joint birthday party. And I was telling one of my coworkers, so like, you know, when I was little, like Power Rangers and like, you know, like Hello Kitty and like Lisa Frank in general, you know, like those were like themed birthday parties, as well as like Lion King and your standard Disney, you know, movie at the time, right? No, I walk in. The first thing, Ari, the niece of the situation, was like, hey, do you want to see the game that we're playing? And I was like, sure. Because, you know, you're not going to crush a 5-year-old soul. And so, anyways, it's I don't know what it's called, but it is a combination of, like, Twister, hopscotch, and, like, blind leading the blind. So, like, you, like, someone hits the spinner, and it's, like, the number of walks that you have to go on this plastic mat, and it's, like, this obstacle course. You can play it a couple of different ways. Like, you can do the hopscotchness, or you can do the actual, like, so many steps have to do this. But you're blindfolded, and you have to avoid poo. It's like they look realistic too, and I didn't feel one because I was creeped out by it. But like they're like silicone, like have that like flocked like crap on it.
We're good. Keep going. Keep going. Move on past it.
So anyways, they're playing this, and they were like, "Do you want to play?" And I was like, "Shut that down." No. And so the whole theme of the party was unicorns and emoji poo. So
I've heard that's the new thing.
But I was like,
no.
Like, we had some classy shindigs for birthday parties back in the day, and I was like, this is where we're at. So anyways, it was a combination of that party and Easter. So, but when I left, I hit all of the snow. We had like a crazy snowstorm here. And I drove through all of it and literally was bumper to bumper on 55 South, and like so many cars in the ditch, so many first responders out, and yeah, it took me like 4 hours to get home, and it's usually like a hour and 40-minute drive, so it was pretty bad, but got home safely, and that's all that matters. So
now all the snow's almost melted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're less than a mile from my mom's, but we had so much snow in the car and no snow brush because somehow they both ended up in the van. So like what the wipers could do, the wipers could do. Other than that, we were trying to roll down the windows, and I had a mound of snow from the wipers and on the hood that I'm trying to see over driving. Like, anyway, so that's been our fun 2 weeks. Let's get to the knitting, shall we? What's taking a bow? We both have things finished. Surprise, surprise, I have 2 hats. And yeah, so the first one I finished is the Sweater on the Sea hat, using Leading Men Fiber Arts box office or worsted weight in Dames at Sea, which is the brim, the navy blue, and the Great Sweater Debate at the top. And I went back up to my 96 stitch hat, and again, I've reflected that in my project notes. I went down the last few to 88 stitches, and so this is more of a has some slouch, especially if somebody's not as big-headed as me. It'll have more slouch, but I really enjoyed the contrasting brim. And then as stitches in Connecticut, I cast on for the second one, and I just flip-flopped. Again, 96 stitches, and again, using the Great Sweater Debate for the brim on a size 6, and then Dames at Sea for the body of the hat on a size 8. This one I'm calling Dames on Debate. And so I've got 2 more hats for charity. Done and done. And they've been pictured, and they've been entered into the Zombie Apocalypse knit along that I'm doing, which is hashtag ZK Team Love. So
is that the team you're on, or
it is.
How is that?
There
working?
is Team Laugh Out Loud and Team Love, and it is by Graham's Knit.
Nice.
So you get sorted into a group, and then whichever group knits the most grams wins. We are behind, but I think our group is a little more. I've met a couple people from our group at shows, and we're a little more. We're gonna knit what we want to knit and have the camaraderie and companionship. Whereas, you know, there's go the other team, but there's a lot of like super bulky blankets and things just to get the grams, and that's fine. That you do you. That's how you want to play. But I think we're a little more laid back in our group, so
Nice.
cool. So that's all that I finished in the past 2 weeks.
Awesome. Well, thanks for spreading that out, because I needed to finish something. I needed to finish weaving in because it's not my favorites. Anyways.
What?
So,
you don't like weaving in the end?
I don't. But I knew that I was going to get crap about it if I didn't, so I did. Anyways, so this is the Switch Shawl, really mammoth project. It's by Spruce Lane Designs, and it is knit with Stitched Out Loud, and they're DK based, and it's in the colorway. Thank you. In the DK base.
Starts over here.
Actually, this is the back side of it, but it doesn't totally matter. And it's in the zebra corn colorway. I knit it on size 7 US, and I really love it. It is huge. It is going to be great for winter, which hopefully we are out of it. But it really just needs to be washed and blocked. But that's about it. And I might not even block it, to be honest, because I don't necessarily want it to be bigger than what it is. But I would like it to be
you don't
clean.
need to stretch it, but I would wash it just to get the lace to... Yeah. I mean, you want it to open up a little bit so it has a little more drape to it, especially a DK, I think, personally. Now, Kelly, I'm noticing some difference here. We were talking about this before we recorded.
So, I had 3 skeins of this, and 2 of them looked very similar in the skein, and then 1 did not. When I purchased it, I knew that it looked very black and white. You can see it down here. It's where it really starts. I saw that in the skein it looked very black and white, but I just assumed that it was going to be okay once it was wound. Then when I wound it, it was vastly different than the other 2. So when I was looking at the design for the shawl, I was like, well, you know, I might just do 2 skeins in the pattern and then be done. And I'll use
here.
Yeah. Because that would be a pretty big shawl, and if I really aggressively blocked it, it would be a lot bigger.
Right.
And so I was like, I'll use the other skein for like hat or a mitten or something. But then I was like, well, I've got it. It'd be okay, because it was going to be at the bottom, and it really would anchor it. And it does. When we don't have the best lighting, but in like natural light, it does look very like, oh yeah, I could see that you did that on purpose. Mm-hmm. Which is really what I wanted it to look like if I was going to add it. Because if I would have striped it, I would have lost all of this gorgeous speckling that was in this skein, you know, initially. So, and this is in no way, shape, or form the designer's fault, or the dyer, excuse me. I knew this when I bought it, And, you know, I knew this as I was knitting it, and I could have stopped and I could have switched it out. But like I said, I think it really does anchor the piece, because there's a lot of color through here. And then when you get to the bottom, it looks fine.
Well, and you can even see here at the beginning that this is one skein, because there's more black in this. There's less in the middle. And then there's a lot more at the end. Yeah. So it almost it's like a fade of one color.
Yeah.
You know, almost.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then when you put it on, it doesn't, you know.
No one's going to be able to.
No one's going to notice.
Right.
I mean, an FYI, I mean, this sucker is huge. Like, I could, like, maybe, and this is, I don't know because I don't have a tiny human, but I think I could maybe use this as baby wearing. Now, obviously, I wouldn't recommend that, but I'm fairly certain that I could smuggle a small child up in here. So, I'm like, again, I don't know specifically. It'd have to be kind of a small child, like a newbie. Yeah, I think.
Is that all you finished?
You act like this is not a lot. This is 750 yards, and I ran out.
It is.
And
it's enough to smuggle a newborn child, that one might say.
One might say that. The other thing that I wanted to note was, even with 3 skeins of DK weight, I didn't finish the whole pattern of this. There's actually a whole nother section of lace.
Did you use the needle size recommended, or did you go down?
I used what was recommended.
Because we know you're a loose knitter, too. You loose. We know this about you. So, that being said, because her skeins are the same as our DK, which is a little cushioned. There's 250 yards rather than, say, like 230. So, but yeah, it's definitely going to help with the drape, even if, you know, you should keep that on. It looks pretty. Nice. All right, so let's keep moving. So what's performing? First, for me, I have another hat on the needles, and this is actually going to show you our new colorway, which I'm going to talk about and remind you about at the end of the episode. But for April, which pre-orders are now open, our colorway of the month is called Head in the Clouds, and it looks like this. It is so hard to show with our lighting. But it is a very faint blue speckled with purples and a flecks of pink in it. And surprisingly, it's all one dye. It does it all. I would like to lay claim to it, but it does it itself. So here is the other hat that I'm doing. Again, this is a 96 stitch hat. And I'm trying to see. Again, my light. There's a little bit of a better representation. Looks good for us, but then when you try to get up close, it washes it out. So it's a light blue. Very pretty in my opinion. A little more subtle of our lines of colors. And so I'm working on that, and I'm halfway through the body of the hat, I'd say. And then, excuse me, sorry, all of the yawns are happening today. My Gentian socks, I took a skein of Regia 4-ply in the Gentian colorway, which is color number 4458. And I have a pair or a sock and a half done. I should have brought over blockers, but I forgot. And I think these are going to be for Andy's brother for Christmas. And so these are the most random variegated yarn ever. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to how long the color repeats are or what's going on. So, and I did a slip stitch heel on that with gusset, heel flap with gusset. And so I'm working on, I finished that in Connecticut, and I started this on the ride home. And I'm decreasing on the gusset right now, on the second sock. So that's that on a size 1, 2.25, and I'm using my Knit Pro double or 2 circs that I picked up for a second pair of sock knitting. And I'm liking those a lot. So that's the socks that I'm working on. And then I cast on for a new sample knit for Leading Men Fiber Arts booth. I send out a lot of my samples anymore, and I was like, you know what? I want to knit with all my yarn now. So a new pattern came out in Knitty. Did you see the new Knitty released?
Do people still actually, like, really clamor to it like they used to and shut it down?
I don't know. I don't know about that. But so a designer who's relatively local to us out of Central Illinois, Dallas Ann Prentice, she goes by the Violet Pie. She has been working on this for almost a year now. In fact, we saw the prototype of it at Stitches Midwest last year. And then, of course, you know, through submitting it to Knitty, being approved, the publication, it did not come out till just about a week and a half ago. And it's a beautiful open front, short-sleeved cardie with a swing back to it. Here's the front of it. It's called April Showers. And let me see if I can show you a better picture of the back of it. And it's really cool because you knit the top and then you do a band and then it's knit sideways to do this swing back. So can you see there? It's with our seaweed and then the nude scene colorway. And so I was like, you know what? I want to knit this as a sample. And we're not going to kit it up because of the varying sizes and things, but it's going to be easily enough to kit up due to the number of skeins that you need and, you know, being short sleeve and whatnot. The most you need is like 4 skeins of the main color to 2 skeins of the contrasting color, which you can easily find in our booth out of things when you're shopping our booth. And that goes up to, the biggest size is a 3X, which is a... The back bust is 27.75 inches because it's an open front. So she does the measurements in the back. So I'm doing a medium on this, and I did not choose the same colors. Usually I do that the pattern is in, but I went through our online shop and was like, hey, what do we got enough of? Because I needed 3 skeins of the main color and 1 of a contrasting color. And it's knit out of our Show Stealer base. And this is completely free, this pattern, by the way. Knitting is completely free. And I am knitting the body out of Turkey Run. So mine's not so much April showers as it is like September showers. And I went back and forth on the colors, like, is this really going to sell the yarn? And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to knit it. And it'll be a sample, and then it'll be donated somewhere. And my contrasting is Orchard Slope. So it's very autumnal. And guys, I've got a 1/2 inch to go, and I break off through the sleeves already.
That's amazing.
Out of fingering, I've never done a fingering weight sweater. But again, there's not much of a front, and it's got a rolled edge that you pick up and do on a smaller needle and things, and you have to start off with a provisional cast on, which super easy over a crochet hook. I always look it up, and then it's ready to go. So, I know it doesn't look like much. Again, it's not for me. That's the other thing. It's a medium women's. But look at that. I've knit all that.
I've always really liked this color.
I do too. I do. I love this color. So I'm not alternating skeins. Let's see if that bites me in the butt. But I think we're relatively, at least my skeins are relatively good. So there's the back. You can see the little sleeve caps here. And there's not much of a front. Like I said, this is the whole front so far. And that's all that's increasing is going to happen. So it's a very small, it's meant to just be a light throw-on piece. Again, fingering weight, MCN. So I've got about a 1/2 more inch to go in straight stockinette, and then I will do the contrasting band, which goes right under your bust. So it's weird to knit a garment not for myself or something. So I'm working on that. That's knit on a size 6 and 4 US, which is 4 and 3.5 millimeter needles. And then I forgot my granny square blankets to show you and bring up. I did work on them a little bit, and I started putting some of my mini squares together, but hopefully I'll remember to bring that and upstairs and show that to you next episode. So that's all that I'm working on.
Nice.
But wait till next episode, because there'll probably be a lot more, as I told Callie.
Yeah. I'm just working on my dishcloths. I'm using Hobby Lobby's I Love This dishcloth, and
I love this cotton.
I love the, yes. But I do love
Hobby Lobby's I love this dishcloth.
I do love this dishcloth. So, actually, it's in pretty similar colorways to what my shawl was in. I grabbed it because I was like, when I went up to the party, I was like, oh, I'll knit while I'm there because I know I will. No, didn't. Did not. And I was like, well, it'll be Easter. I mean, it is a very Easter colorway.
Yeah.
But as far as things that And this is on size 4 US needles because I'd be loose knitter. So, but I am looking at casting on about, you know, another shawl actually, because I have really liked this designer at Spruce Lane Designs, like I said, and she's got a couple of other ones that I'm like, I've got the yarn for that. And I've had that yarn for a while. And I'd really like to, you know, knit some of my older stash down. So I might be casting on a couple of hers next episode.
I think you should come to Knit Night tonight and you should bring something to cast on.
Well, the other thing is I have the Winter Wonderland kit that I bought. And I have been seeing people's Jodies that they've knit out of that.
Like everybody's knitting the Jody shawl
I
out
know.
of it.
And I really like that. Not that I don't like the design that came with the kit, but I was like, I really like that.
I have yarn to knit a Jody. That was supposed to happen soon.
Yeah. I do have some stuff already wound up, so I should probably cast those things on.
Speaking of which, let's talk about what's in rehearsal for us. So what are we going to work on? More hats for me, of course. Those are always a given. I still want to cast on for the Architecture by Jennifer Weissman. That's that scarf that I'm going to use the beautiful gradient set from Black Hat Fibers that I picked up at YarnCon last year. The 10 mini skeins. I am going to cast that on at some point soon. It's sitting here waiting. But then while I was at the trunk show this weekend in Noblesville, the ladies there are going to be doing a class and a knit along on this wrap. And I was like, huh. And so we were helping a lot of people pick colors. And in fact, I picked a color set. And then the store owner was like, I'm taking this. Is this available? And I was like, yeah, because I had it on the counter. Luckily, don't worry, I had enough in the booth because I shot my own booth to do the exact same thing. So we're going to have matching ones. But it's called the Ribbon Wrap. And it's by Illy Tilly. And I believe this is the designer who did Lily Pilly. Maybe. But it says, featuring a bold gradient stripe that appears to fold over on itself, this large cozy wrap is the perfect thing to throw on when you want both comfort and style. Knit entirely in garter stitch on the bias with constant changes in color and construction. It's an easy but engaging knit that works up quickly in worsted weight yarn, which is everything I wanted to tell you, so I just read it all there. Yeah, it's a worsted weight wrap, and I'm so dumb. Do you see the ribbon and how it looks like it folds over itself? Everybody saw it except me until I printed off the pattern. Anyway, so it's done here with 3 shades of red and then the gray. I'm not doing those colors. I'll show you those in Stash Enhancement. But super excited about this. This looks so cool. And worsted weight, it's going to be ginormous. And I'm doing it as a shop sample, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So I bought and downloaded and printed off the pattern for that. And then I was helping a couple customers get color combos together for the Suburban Wrap, which was recently released by Joji Locatelli, who both Diane of Suburban Stitcher, who she used her yarn, and Joji are beautiful human beings. I've had the pleasure of meeting Diane and chatting with Joji via email. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to do a Joji wrap as a shop sample. And I'm going to use our new monologue base, which is our single ply merino, silk, and yak base. And I have 2 of the colors to show you. I dyed up the 3rd color yesterday, so that's being dealt with today. And so this is going to be on the needles. So it's all about the wraps all the time, between the Architecture, which is like a scarf wrap, and then these 2 wraps. I was going to name this It's a Wrap. But then I was too afraid people would think, oh, that's the last podcast ever, and I didn't want that. So it's just called It's All About the Wraps. And then I thought about wrap my mind around it, and then I was like...
It's like I have a little pocket right here. Like...
That you could fit a newborn child in.
The one thing that I thought about casting on, because I've had it wound forever, and I bought the yarn at YarnCon, was a Lefty by Martina Bem, because the colorways that I have is a Rainbow Bright mini skein set from another crafty girl, and I think it's called Stormy Clouds, Stormy Night, also by another crafty girl, and it's in her sparkly base. So I might cast that on because it's been wound for quite some time now. But I don't know. No, I didn't buy it at YarnCon. I bought it at Pipeline. So that's even longer. Yeah.
All right, let's get into behind the scenes, my spinning. I am still working on the first drafts Rambouillet in the road trip colorway. This was an SSK exclusive colorway, I think 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so this is the second 2 ounces. I've got maybe another half an ounce left to spin to the first ply. So slowly but surely working on that. But again, I was gone for a week, being gone in Connecticut, so I didn't do any spinning then. So that's that. All right. And then let's talk about in the scene shop. What are we working on in other craftingness? And I have some cross stitch to show you. This is a dimensions kit called Live Life, or In the Moment. It says Live Life in the Moment. And I finished the word moment, and I'm working on backstitching, which I utterly hate backstitching. I feel like mine looks trivial. I don't know how to do it well. I don't know how to make it non-choppy. But I'm working on the M, and then it's just hard to follow where it goes after I mark off my chart after I do the stitch, so then it's hard to know, I don't know, it's just hard to see. So, but I'm done with all the accoutrement on here, and then so once I'm done back stitching, I will move up and work my way up this way. This is done on a 28 count even weave. That did not come with the kit. It came with a 14 count Ada that I did not enjoy, but I am using the floss from the kit. So
nice. I actually am getting back into cooking, so for Easter I made a homemade from scratch, and this was actually the first time that I had done a no-bake cheesecake. I actually did a full-blown cheesecake, and it was lemon and raspberry, and it turned out really well. Graham cracker crust. It was delicious. I did not burn it. It did not crack, and for the first time doing that, I was super impressed with myself. I was like, go you.
It's not easy to do. Andy actually made a lemon curd cheesecake with graham cracker crust because he had made it about 1.5 years ago, and my mom about fell over loving it so much, and then so she asked for it last Easter, and it didn't happen. So it's been over a year that she's been waiting on it, but... all right, so in the spotlight, what are we watching and reading? I don't think I've finished anything. I've kind of been if I listen to my audiobook, it's like an hour, and I'm like, I don't want my earbuds in my ears, so I like a lot of silence throughout the day. But we're still watching a little bit of Grace and Frankie. We haven't been home to watch much of it. Still watching The Alienist and Altered Carbon. Again, very little. March Madness has been going on, so I had to put up with that all the travels in the hotel in Connecticut, and then while we were at home, but that is now over as of last night. So I have the summer months to lay back and not have to deal with sports until football starts. So yeah, that's it for what I'm watching and reading.
I'm reading The Gatekeepers by David Whipple. I think that's his name. It's really good. I've watched part of the documentary, so there was a documentary on PBS, but it's nice to be able to have the written word in front of you, because there's pictures in the book, and so it's easy to reference who, so the gatekeepers are the right-hand man, because there is no female that has had that position yet, to the president. Like, they are the gatekeeper of, like, who gets to see the president, who doesn't, the agendas that are presented to the president, etc. So it goes back to Ford's presidency. Yes. And so it's very interesting. It's super political, obviously. But I enjoy it. Makes my little nerd heart sing. Things that I'm watching. I've been watching the internet quite a bit and waiting for ticket sales to concerts that I want to go see the rest of this year. So that is happening. I'm seeing a lot of really good people later on this year. Let's see. Talked about that last time we recorded. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. Stash enhancement.
We both have some.
And I think I freely admitted last time that I'm just, yeah, I'm gonna do me. That sounded wrong. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and as long as I can pay my bills, it's good. right? So Stitches United, I traded with, I do not know her name, I'm so sorry, but she does all the Stitches events, and I have cross-stitch floss all over this yarn. It's going to be a hot mess. With White Birch Fiber Arts, I've always admired her colorways, but she has very much an aesthetic, and I admire them, and then I'm like, well, I have something similar, or I have this. But she does beautiful gradiated self-striping yarn. And so I went outside my comfort zone. I was walking through her booth, because Sundays are notoriously a slower day in shows, and you know that's when the vendors go and shop each other. And she had this. She has swatches of all her yarn and knit up. And this one, I knew it was a Hamilton reference, but again, I've never seen it, never really listened to the soundtrack. Kind of came into the theater scene after I kind of left it. So, but it's self-striping with yellows and golds and different shades of gray, and it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, 462 yards, 2 matching 50-gram skeins, and this is in the colorway History Has Its Eyes on You.
I love this.
So this is outside my comfort zone, but again, I needed something more than blues and teals and blacks and grays. So
I wouldn't be opposed if you made me socks out of this.
that's great. I got enough yardage to make myself socks, because most of her base is the 400 80-20 ply, or 80-20 400 yards, which can be. I would have to do a shorter cuff, or definitely mix in some contrasting cuff heel toe. So, I got that, and then across from me was Honey Girl Farms, and she's out of Girard, Missouri.
I know where that's at.
And I had seen her name at Stitches West. And then when I saw her setting up these project bags that she has, I remembered she was at YarnCon, and she'll be at YarnCon again this year. She has a friend who's an artist that lives around Connecticut, because her friend came and visited her booth on Sunday. And she has all these eccentric prints. Now, there are some really eccentric ones. I did not do that. We got a bigger bag for a cash bag, and it is a rainbow unicorn farting rainbows. And then there's ones like a cat that is farting a bubble with a poop in it, and like just random stuff. But I got these little Notions pouches to put Notions pouches into my project bags. And so Andy was like, really? You need bags to put inside your bags now? And I was like, yeah. And I just realized they have little zipper pouches on the inside as well. And they're this, I don't know what you'd call this, but it's like a satin, but
it's
not.
like a
Nylon?
waterproof nylon type deal.
So very slick fabric. This one's a narwhal with an otter riding it. So
You
I thought that
said
was
she's
cute.
going to be at YarnCon?
She will be. And she has a varying... Now, they're not the cheapest thing. I think the Notions pouches themselves were like $12. But, you know, they're custom done bags. I mean, this is custom artwork to her. This one is a weird little alien dude with a fox on its head. I just thought that was kind of cute. I like foxes and owls. And then this one is not my color scheme, but it's got a little Stitch dude with button eyes, like a little voodoo doll, and it says, I got 99 problems, but a Stitch ain't one. And then there's a little bit more of him there. So, I got that. And then we got the other one, like I said, which I didn't bring in here. And then I got some of her single-ply mini skeins, and they're not tagged, and I don't know the colors, but mini skeins were my rage at the show, because I was like, they're not directly going in my stash. These are all for my crocheted mini skein blankets. So I got these from Honey Girl Farms. So I liked all those beautiful speckled colors. And there's that. So those all came from Honey Girl Farms. And then the next aisle over, in the same spot we were in, but the next aisle over, were the yarns of Richard DeVries, who we got to meet. Richard, he's out of Ontario, Canada. And he is a hoot and a half, and kept coming over and chit-chatting with us and making jokes. And so he was a good guy. And I got about 6 of his little minis. I would say these maybe are 10-gram minis. And these are all on his Pepino base. This one is called When Flowers Bloom. And this one is Reflections. And Candy Floss. He had bins of minis. And I had his assistant pick all these out for me. I was like, just pick me out some. Glacier. Stopping to Sniff. And Shake Me. So, more to go in the mini bins. And these are so small, I might just put them around my neck and crochet from them. Like, I don't need to wind them. So I got those, and then let's see. I went to Marinated Yarns, and it was her first big event. I had heard of her before, and I only got 2 mini skeins from her. Where's the other one? Sorry. I had 2. There they are. So these are her 46 yards, 10 grams of her Practicality base, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon. This is in Forestscape colorway. And this one is in Lake Effect. So I got those from Marinated Yarns. And then my girls, Anna and Antoinette from Black Cat Fibers, who you got to visit them. If you come to YarnCon, they're across from us. We love them. We have dinner with them at almost every event we go to. They do all the stitches now. We text all the time. We chat back and forth. I got 6 mini skeins from them. I'm going to get another 6 from them at YarnCon when they have a little more selection. These are not named, but they do beautiful work. So there's a speckled one there and some fun ones. And so all those mini skeins from Black Cat Fibers. And yeah, so that's stitches. Do you want to show what you got?
I mean...
Yeah, you show what you got.
Are you sure? Yeah. I don't want to break your reign
because I got a little bit more to show.
Alright, do you? Alright. So I will just freely admit that I'm a bag whore. Y'all know this if you've been watching a while. And so most of my stash is actually bags. So I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is.
And did you see what piqued her ears about YarnCon? Bags.
I know. I know. Alright, so this is not a Fringe field bag, but it sure looks like one, and that's really great with me. And I actually may be putting in a custom order to get a yellow one, because as much as I would like to have a yellow Fringe field bag, I'm not about that life of paying that much money in euros. No, girl. No, it's not happening. So anyways, this does have a gray and white polka dot. It is by Mini Moon Sewing, and her Etsy shop is minimoonsewing.etsy.com. Mini Moon Sewing.
And she's local to us as well.
Yes. And it works just like a field bag. It's designed just like a field bag, but if you like the idea of a field bag but can't afford it, her
they're
prices,
about half the price.
Yeah. So anyways,
and to be honest with you, the Fringe field bags, while they are great, like to have the exclusivity that they have, and so I know even our local yarn shop tried to order them, and basically she was told, we're not going to sell to you. So, you know, she got in what she could, yeah. And this is just as great.
I will say this, I believe when I went to their Etsy shop, it's a mother-daughter team. And to be real honest, I would rather my money go to support a family than it is. I mean, Fringe is a huge company. It's still like a mom and pop.
It's still a small business that they started. But yes.
But I know that my dollars go to them and they're local to us, which then just boosts our economy. So I'm just putting that out there. The other bag I got another Cookie Designs bag. And this is in a jungle print that is actually Rifle Paper and Co. as well. It's got an orange zipper, and the inside is this fun like botanical floral print. So I really enjoy this. And then the next bag, in order of what I got it in, was I got a Notions pouch from our local yarn shop. Kelly actually does the applique. It's a red sheep, and so really enjoy this. It's like a cosmetic, so it's got that like waterproof lining in it. It's made for, you know, makeup and that kind of thing. Not that you're going to be carrying anything like that for knitting, but thank you. But it is nice to have in there. The next item of bag-wise that I got was a Fat Squirrel bag, and this is in the farm print that she released a few weeks ago. I finally got my life together and ordered it. So one of the shawls that I want to cast on is for the Love of Spiders shawl, and because it's a Charlotte's Web reference, I was like, I clearly need a bag that's going to match that. Clearly. And I love Amy Best bags. I mean, like, it's always a treat to use these. Like, I have several. I'm very lucky to have several. I know that you have gifted me at least one, if not two. But I'm very fortunate. And so I'm, like, super jazzed about that. And then I caught a D-stash. And I got Desert Vista Dye Works and her Visio base. It's a self-striping in the West Wing game colorway. So when I was in 5th grade, I had to read the Westing Game, excuse me. That's the colorway. The Westing Game book for our individual book reports, and I've always really enjoyed the book, and the colors do match the cover that I actually had a copy of. So I was like, pay homage to that. And the other one that I caught was, and I have not actually ever heard of this company, but that doesn't mean that they aren't around. It's Casual Fashion Queen, and it's in the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
She was at Stitches Midwest this past year. She is out of Florida.
But I really like this. I'm actually a huge Wizard of Oz fan, but I'm also a huge Elton John fan as well. So it was like 2 loves in one. And I'm going to say proudly, when I purchased this, it was a D-stash that was on Etsy. And there was 4 other people that had it in their carts. And I've never stolen anything out of anybody's cart on Etsy. I don't play that game. But I will say, I'm sorry if you were the other 3, but I came out victorious, and that's all that really matters. It's a 75-25 merino nylon and a fingering weight. So I'm really jazzed about this.
I'm so sorry.
So yeah, that was my stash and hat.
Continuing with mine, I may have shopped my own trunk show this past weekend. Because I showed you those 2 patterns that I want to knit. So the first one, the Suburban Wrap, I have 2 colors to show you. It calls for 3. I dyed up one yesterday, and that is the Fortune Teller colorway, which is like a dark steely blue. Looks like a really almost black blue. And I dyed it up on our monologue base, which is an 65% superwash merino, 20% silk, 15% yak, and you get 523 yards in 120 grams. My other 2 colors are going to be Sea Turtle and Glow Stick, with that dark steely blue. So that's that. And who knows, when I get it done and it's a shop sample, maybe we will bring in kits for that as well. I know Hohi's going to be releasing her Fading Point here in the next 2 weeks, next week. But I want to do one out of sock blanks because I think that'd be so cool, especially with our speckled sock blanks that we do. But I'm like, I just got our Starting Point out as a sample. I don't need to go down that road right now. But then I picked out the yarn for my ribbon wrap, which I'm dying to get cast on. So for the main body of mine, it's going to be Darkest Hour, and I needed 3 skeins of this. This is a 7 skein worsted weight wrap, in case you were worried about that. So I've got 3 Darkest Hour. I'm going to ask for your help here.
Yes.
And then you need worsted weight full skeins, because it calls for 50 gram skeins of something. Knit Picks, Swish. So you could do it on a cheaper price point. But then I needed 1 skein of a lightest, 2 of a medium, and then 1 skein of a darker for the gradient stripe. And so I am lightest, I'm doing, surprise, nude scene. And then my 2 medium colors are going to be Poseidon. And then my darkest color is going to be Into the Woods. And that's all going to be laid on the backdrop of the Darkest Tower. It's got me kind of written all over it.
I can't wait to see this knit up. I also can't wait to see the construction of it as you're knitting. Because
it's supposed to be different, as from what I can tell. It's got a different construction to it. So that's that. That goes in there. This is just for the worsted weight wrap. And then Hoki's wrap. So I walked away from my booth going, man, I did some damage. At least I'm shopping myself. Could be worse. Alright. So, we have a new giveaway this week. For some more Lily's Sugar and Cream. And I have 4 50-gram balls of Lily's Sugar and Cream. 2 in this hot green color. 1 in mod green. And 1 in sage green. So that's 200 grams of cotton. And this is up for grabs. You must be a member of the group and you must answer the prompt in the appropriate thread, which I don't think I put up yet. I got to do that when I do show notes. But don't worry, it'll be up when you see this. And the prompt this week is, what is your favorite store in the mall? Yeah.
My favorite store in our local mall is the Mole Hole. So the Mole Hole's like a... which if you ever get the chance to visit, they're super kind individuals that run it. Ron is the actual owner of the store, and he has another store called Uptown Normal, which if you're in the ISU area, that's also a great store. But they're kind of like a little gift shop of all kinds of different lines of like Vera Bradley, different kitschy things.
Knickknacks.
Yeah. Patty wax. I'm just kidding.
Give your dog a bone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For the mall we go into, which is not Bloomington but Decatur's, there's a Hobby Lobby and a
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx.
But they just moved there. They didn't used to be.
Right, but they are now. So I'm like, yeah, that's kind of where I look to go to. My mom's all about the Ross in that mall, so I'm not a huge fan of Ross. I never really find much that I care for, so...
I like Kohl's in general, though.
I do like Kohl's, but since I'm not working... Teaching, I don't need as many clothes, and I wear a lot of around-the-house gym shorts, sweatpants, and stuff, so, like, this is dressed up. Like, this was getting dressed for me today, wearing jeans, and I'm dressed for knit night tonight.
I was going to say for me, but thanks.
Alright, so let's talk about last week's giveaway, and that was for the book... Shades of Winter by Ingel Johansson and Ewa K. Anderson, as well as a set of yarn socks, yarnsocks.com. And I was informed, the proprietress behind Yarn Socks did say you can use this with balls wound from the outside as well as the inside. She said she designed them for both. I had a little trouble pulling from the outside, so maybe it was just me and user error. Like, that would probably be the case. But, so there's that, and I've included a little business card in there for Yarn Socks as well. So if you win, the winner of this was number 40, which is Sandy151, and she is from Ohio. And the prompt last week was, what is the best thing about living in your city? And she said, what I like most about my small town is that my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren are here. So
that's awesome.
I have to say that's kind of nice. Growing up, my relationship with my mom was a lot better when I moved out. If that makes sense, and I think that can be for a lot of people. And we lived apart for over a decade, and then she moved to the town that I live in now, and it's really nice. Now, we couldn't live in the same household.
Yeah, you guys would kill each other.
But it's nice being close and being able to do family dinners and to do holidays together and to, you know, just be able to chit-chat. And so I enjoy that. I can relate to the family aspect of that. So congratulations, Sandy. If you would please private message me, Dramatic Knits, on Ravelry with your first and last name and mailing address. I'll get that out to you as soon as I can. We have our March 2018 Race to the Finished Object Contest prize winners to draw.
We do.
We do. So do you want to announce winners for me?
I will.
All right. So the first prize, our Yarny prize, is 2 skeins of Barocco Ultra Alpaca Chunky in the gray colorway.
And it went to number 182, which is Area 50, which is Stacy from California, and she knit TV Time socks, and they were really cute.
Yeah, so you did some chunky socks, so this might be some more fun chunky socks, just saying. So congratulations again. Private message me, Dramatic Knits, with your mailing address and your first and last name so I can get those out to you.
It's awesome. So the next prize was a pattern from our featured designer, which is Shelby Hamden. Sorry, I struggle. And the winner of that was number 200, which is Artist Maybe, which is Mary from Vancouver. And she knit, I remember seeing this when she posted, blackberry socks, and that went into my queue. For some reason, I have been sleeping on these blackberry socks, and I was like...
I think it just came out because I think I saw a pair of them at the yarn store this weekend, and they were part of Sock Madness, which has been going on, and it's done with, like, I don't know if it's duplicate stitch or intarsia, but
they're really pretty.
They are, but they are a little too much for me to bite off right now.
My thing is like, I don't really watch patterns quite a bit. Like, I don't watch that in Ravelry. I get a lot of pattern exposure from Instagram, quite frankly, and from watching other podcasts. So if I don't see it in those 2 areas, then I probably don't know about it.
Yeah. That being said, Mary, Artist Maybe, if you will please look at Shelby's patterns. They are linked in our show notes, dramaticknits.com. Let me know what pattern you like. I'll let Shelby know and she'll gift it to you. So we have our April 2018 Race to the Finished Object contest currently open and things being entered in there. So anything you finish this month, you can enter in there. You must be a member of the group. You can post as many things as you finish this month, and we'll have, again, a physical prize as well as another pattern from Shelby. This is her 4th and final month as our featured designer, and we thank Shelby so very much for being so generous with her talents. That being said, we are looking for a new featured designer, so if you're a new designer or you've been designing for a long time and you want to be featured on our podcast, all it requires is that you donate 1 pattern per month, and you can sign up from as little as 1 month all the way up to 6 months, and we will give you a shout out every week as well as link your pattern page in our show notes. So please either get in contact with me, Dramatic Knits, or you can also email Callie at Callisters on Ravelry. Alright, so we're going to move into center stage, all things Leading Men Fiber Arts. I'm only going to chit-chat for another few minutes, but if you leave us now, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We hope to be back on that Sunday, I believe. And other than that, I do want to remind you that our April colorway, Head in the Clouds, is currently up for pre-order. That'll be up for another 5 days or so through the 8th. You can order it on any base of yarn. You just click on the listing, and then there's a drop-down menu to select your base and quantity. And I do want to show you, we do have sock sets up for the new pattern Impossibly Possible by Lisa Ross, who is Paper Daisy Creations. And she does this every spring. She releases a sock collection based off of a theme. And last year we were honored enough to work with her on her Socks of Oz. And she did a beautiful pair of yellow socks called Just Follow that were after the Yellow Brick Road out of our Spotlight base. And this year, she's doing a collection, The Socks of Wonderland, based off of Alice in Wonderland. And we were the first pattern to be released, which came out on April 1st. And they are called Impossibly Possible, and they feature a gradient as well as a coordinating semi-solid. And so these are what they look like. This set features our Drama Queen and London Fog colorways. And we worked with Lisa to curate 4 different colorway options that mimic characters in Alice in Wonderland. So this is based off the Cheshire Cat. And then we have a wind chill gradient along with nude scene, that's Alice. We have a poison apple gradient with darkest hour, that's Queen of Hearts. And we have a rubber ducky gradient with London Fog, and that's the Mad Hatter. So we're super excited. Pre-orders will ship within a week of your order being received. And you get a full 6-skein mini skein gradient of Showstopper, that's 520 some yards, as well as a full skein of Showstopper, which is 463. In all honesty, there's probably enough to do 2 pairs of socks, if not do some coordinating mitts or things like that. The only reason why we didn't use a half skein rather than a full skein was that some of Lisa's test knitters were a little close, and so we wanted to err on the side of caution to make sure everybody had enough yarn.
So when you... Oh, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
Does it include the pattern?
That does not include the pattern, but that being said, she is running a deal right now. She did have the pattern for free for a couple of days, for about 2 days, and it was #1 on Ravelry's Hot right now, which is awesome. But you can go and purchase the pattern collection, the whole collection of 4 socks. There's going to be 1 sock released each week in April, and you can get the whole collection for $5 using the code Wonderland. And she does this every year. So you get all 4 patterns for $5, and there are some really cool patterns. She shows you all of them. There's a Queen of Hearts one that are really cool. Not my cup of tea in terms of wearing, but just the thought behind them. So cool. So you get all 5 of them for $5, and she's running a knit along in her Paper Daisy Creations group on Ravelry, and you only have to finish 1 sock in the timeline. You don't have to finish both, you just have to finish 1 sock to be eligible, and there's prizes. Like I know there's a whole nother gradient and whole skein set from us that is eligible, as well as wonderful other things. Also, if you buy the sock collection, you get coupon codes from the donators and the yarn vendors.
You shut your face.
So I'm just saying there might be a sizable discount from us that you can use in our online shop if you purchase the pattern. But you don't get those coupon codes until you purchase the collection.
But like, just breaking it down, because having seen her patterns elsewhere, 4 patterns for $5 is like nothing.
Right.
And as much work as she has put into these patterns, as well as having them test knit,
and photographed.
And photo.
And we have the originals of Impossibly Possible. We have one of them, and Just Follow, that is going to go on tour with us this year. And so if you're coming to YarnCon, I'm not going to have kits this weekend, but we can kit you up. But I will have the pattern available in the booth that you can purchase if you want it right then and there. It's not the same price as the good deal you get online. They're going to be $5 per pattern originally once this month goes by. So,
but that's insane. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I think that is totally worth $5.
So, yeah, and she's been getting a lot of shout outs from different dyers as well as the grocery girls and everywhere, so she does really good work. We're excited to work with her. We worked with her on a couple of different things. Most recently, the Love Letters mystery knit along. She was one of the designers behind that, and we're going to be working with her this summer, as well as a few other wonderful ladies at Stitches Midwest. So keep your eyes and ears peaked for that. All right. So those pre-order sets will be up through the 11th, which is next Wednesday. They went up last Wednesday, and they'll be up for 2 weeks. Again, they'll ship out no more than a week after you place your order. And again, you'll have plenty of extra yarn to do something else probably. All right, let's talk upcoming shows this weekend. YarnCon 2018, so excited. We're going to be in the same exact location we've been in the past 2 years. When you walk in the door, go to your left. We are going to be in the first aisle, first booth on your right. Like you said, amazing people across from us. Black Cat, Daisy Knits, and Oink Pigments, and Yarn Geek Fibers are going to be behind us. We are really good friends with a lot of the people, vendors that do YarnCon. We love that show. It's our favorite show of the year. We cannot wait. Our friend Amber is helping us out once again this year. She's been so kind and generous with her time. So she's driving up on Friday to help us set up, and we'll be in our booth all weekend helping enable you and be your personal shopper and help you get ideas for future projects. Then next Tuesday, so we come home Sunday night. Tuesday we drive up to Cary, Illinois, and we will be presenting / vending at the Cultured Pearls Knitting Guild in Cary, Illinois. And so that'll be exciting. So if you're in that area or part of that guild, we'll be there. We'll bring a smattering of yarns and kits and sock blanks and whatnot, whatever we have left over from YarnCon and in the shop. And I'll be presenting a Q&A about the business that I do. And then the weekend after, so this is all within a week, essentially, we will be at the Fiber event in Greencastle, Indiana. So we always enjoy that show as well. We'll be in the same exact spot we've been in the past 2 years, in the barn, and we can't wait to see some of the locals there. We'll be able to see, hopefully Lisa will be there. She's local to that area, Lisa Ross, as well as the Fat Squirrel usually shows up, and Rhymes with Maria will be there, and Knitspin Farm, Joanna Ven's there, and she'll be there this year, and maybe we'll be able to make it out to our farm this year. Last year we got lost, and it just didn't happen. And Stephanie Lotvin, Tellybean Knits, usually shows up with her little girl, and yeah, so it's a good time had by all. We like that event, other than the cell phone reception, which means we have issues checking people out. But other than that, it's a great show. So, yeah. So that's just the first half of April. We'll be back. That's a Friday, Saturday, the Greencastle event. That Sunday we should be back and be able to record, and I'll tell you about where we'll be at in the second half of April for the next 2 weeks, because we're booked those weeks too. I'm nothing if not crazy.
It's true.
But anyway, we're so glad you joined us. And again, you can find us on our website, dramaticknits.com, as well as iTunes, YouTube, and you should join our Ravelry group for Dramatic Knits. We have over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, as well as 2,000 members in our group, and we'd love for you to come join us if you haven't done so yet. You can find the business at leadingmenfiberarts.bigcartel.com, as well as our Instagram and Facebook groups, and Ravelry groups as well. So, until we see you in 2 weeks,
we hope you
knit something dramatic.